body like a back door, riding with my eyes closed. I know every curve like the back of my hand. Doing 15 in a 30, I ain't in no hurry. I just been as slow like the fast as I can.
All right, welcome back to your Carolina Pro Football Report on ADSN. I'm Kevin Tolbert along with Colin Cole. Week 4, Carolina Panthers hosting the Minnesota Vikings, trying to avoid a 4-game skid, but unfortunately they ran right into that today with a 21-13 loss. But Colin, most of the problems today started with this offense not being able to put points on the board.
Yeah. You know, we talked about this in the pregame. We talked about the offense having to establish themselves, offensive line having to establish themselves, running game needed to be established. We saw some glimpses of that. Chuba Hubbard, we saw some of that. Offensive line gave Bryce Young some time, actually. He gave some time. But you got to be able to score. You can't be inside the 5-yard line, can't be inside the 3-yard line and not be able to score. That's not possible. And then to not get anything, it's atrocious, and it really set the tone for what this offense did for the entirety of the game. Now, I will say they had some bright spots. You know, Bryce definitely threw the ball under pressure. He threw the ball and made some plays, you know, and he escaped the pressure a couple of times. So I think that overall, man, it was a decent performance. Just couldn't capitalize on opportunities. I mean, we had the 99-yard pick six from your man that you highlighted in the pregame, and that was that's right.
Junior, get used to that name because he's an up-and-coming star.
That's right. He did a tremendous job with that. And then, you know, Kirk threw us another interception, right? But then obviously we gave back the fumble, and we couldn't capitalize on those turnovers. We got the one touchdown. That was the only touchdown of the game. Was Sam Franklin's touchdown, and offense wasn't able to score. Offense wasn't able to get on the board with 6.
So it seems like there's still a disconnect with the offensive line, and Bryce Young still has some things to fix. Where do they start?
Well, I think it all comes back to coming back this upcoming week, working on the run game. It all comes back to that. That's the quarterback's biggest ally, is their running game. If we can't have that on a consistent basis, it's going to really set this team up for a difficult season going forward, because it's going to be hard to find wins if you can't run the ball. So they're going to have to reestablish that. They're going to have to get after it again this week and try to find a way to bounce back against their next opponent.
Now they've got Detroit coming up. That is a very, very tough matchup. Not sure who will be the quarterback next week. Obviously, they're leaning toward Bryce Young. He's the guy that they brought in, #1 pick, you know, to be that guy. But is this a scenario where you might see a change?
Considering Bryce just came off of being out for a couple weeks, I would think not right now. I would think they're going to kind of let him go through his growing pains right now. I don't see them making that change. Again, he had some bright spots. We can't forget that he had some bright spots today. So he's got some things to build on, but obviously you have to get to the point where he has full command of this offense. And honestly, looking at the game from my standpoint, my point of view, too many short passes, too many bubble screens, too many wide receiver screens, too many flare passes. Didn't push the ball down the field like we saw last week from Andy Dalton. I think this coaching staff has to take the handcuffs off him a little bit and let him throw the ball down the field, if they feel comfortable with the offensive line being able to keep him upright.
But does it appear, since they were able to do it with Andy Dalton, does that show possibly a lack of confidence in what Bryce is able to do at this point?
Yeah, possibly. It could possibly be that. But more realistically, I think that they're just waiting for the game to speed up for him, because he made some great decisions today. Let's not forget, he made some really good decisions today. You know, but again, you know, for any passing attack to really find potency, you have to threaten the defense at all levels. You got to threaten them, you know, with the short passes, the intermediate passes, and the deep passes. I may have seen one ball go deep today. I may have seen one, but there was no threat. Especially, we talked about in the pregame, those zero blitzes. We saw those safeties all the way up at the line of scrimmage blitzing off the edge. The sack to end the game was a freaking safety blitzing off the edge to get a sack. So really, that leaves guys one-on-one. That leaves matchups. That leaves favorable matchups for the offense. just have to be able to capitalize on those opportunities.
So, report card for all three phases of football today.
Well, you got to give special teams a B for obviously creating points. Defense did a good job of creating turnovers. They were not able to stop the run when they needed to. So I have to give them a B+ for the turnovers, B+, A- for the turnovers. Offense is about a C. It's still about average, C, C-, because they got to definitely be able to. When you got yourself in scoring position, you get yourself down to the 3-yard line. That's what football is about, man. Right. We got to be able to run the ball into the end zone. I mean, my era of football, that's what we did. We come back on practice on Wednesday, you're banging heads. You're getting yourself ready for situations, opportunities like that. And, you know, I don't know, between the changes in practice schedule and, you know, the youngness and, like we talked about before, the revolving door at certain positions on the offensive line, you know, it takes time to build continuity. But they got to get it together. You got to get it together. You got to be able to score when you're at point-blank range. You got to be able to score.
Well, that'll wrap up this edition of the Carolina Pro Football Report on ADSN from Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm Kevin Tolbert, along with Colin Cole. 21-13, the Carolina Panthers fall to the Vikings to extend their losing streak to now 4 games. We'll see you tomorrow in practice.